I'm a skateboarder and, I got rid of anxiety and depression in my life. That doesn't mean that it can never come back again, but it does mean that I found out how to get rid of it. And the way that that is actually through prayer. So, I'll probably tell different stories on my YouTube about dealing with anxiety and depression and just how God walked with me through that. But, before I mentioned about how God set me free from anxiety, and I want to add depression in there too, because those went together for me, right? And so, one thing is that you can call out to Jesus to set you free, but prayer is what is going to help you maintain your freedom because we want to stay in constant connection with God. And so I began to realize, as a young skateboarder in my teenage years, that how I was staying free when all the anxiety and depression would come rushing back in was going to God in prayer and just talking it out what I'm dealing with, meditating on his word and just listening for things that he had to tell me. And a lot of times God was taking me to a place of stillness and tranquility for my soul, right? I think so much anxiety and depression is not just what's coming at us, it's what's going on inside. And, I'm not against trained medical professionals or whatever, but I do believe that the power of prayer can set you free and help you maintain staying away from anxiety and depression. Like everything else, there can be things that can help, but I think that God is powerful enough that he can ultimately help us. And so, why prayer works is because it increases your awareness of God with you. In Jeremiah, I think it's 29:13, it says, "You'll seek me and you'll find me." Well, if God promises that to us, then it's true. And I can't base my experience if I don't feel God close to me right away and say, well, that's not true. No, you keep practicing knowing God and really, trying to get to know him. And it just takes repetition, keep talking to God. And I promise you, even if in the beginning you don't feel like he's consciously with you, you don't have that awareness, just know that he's working behind the scenes. But I even think just even mentally knowing God is with you and actually believing that can help you. It can give you some assurance like, okay, even though I'm not feeling this right now, like I'm not feeling God with me, I know based on what he promises in his word that he is getting me through this. And so that's something you have to have your mind made up of, is even when you don't feel the freedom, is that you still believe it. And I believe the feelings of freedom and liberation will come. But so prayer is not just asking God to do stuff for you. It's supposed to guide us into relationship with God, to again, where we know he is with us, because God is real. He's a real being. And so as a skateboarder, all the things I went through and some of what skateboarding advertises to you is the right way to go and things like that. Like what kept me in peace is deciding like, okay, I want to be about Jesus. I want to influence for Jesus, right? And not the other way around, not having skateboarder groups pull me in the wrong direction or whatever. And obviously all that stuff is not something you can just blame on, skateboarding, like going the wrong path or whatever. That's just a human issue to begin with. But because I was a skateboarder, I had to consecrate myself to God and really devote time to prayer, really devote time to scripture and just deciding to be different. Because once you find peace with God, it doesn't matter the cost. It doesn't matter if you're different from other people. And when you do think you should conform or whatever, or there's the temptation to conform to how they are, no, you need to abide in the peace of God and stay in that. And so, yeah, prayer totally kept me in a place where it felt like I knew God and kept me away from anxiety and depression. And so here I am all these years later, and I still get kept in the peace of God by continually staying in prayer. And anytime I, don't pray as much and things like that, like I'm aware that like things coming at me are producing anxiety and sometimes even, depressive feelings. So I hope that this has helped you, not just to hear one of my stories of how I was set free, but how through God's help I was able to maintain freedom. Thanks.